Good morning from San Francisco. I'm Alvin, and today I'll be flying on Lufthansa 747-8 in business class.
As we're normally based in Vancouver, we decided to fly into San Francisco the night before to make sure we had enough energy to fully enjoy our Lufthansa 747 experience.
All carry-on items must be stowed in the event of an evacuation.
Getting into San Francisco at 9 p.m., we opted to spend the night at the Grand Hyatt at SFO, which is conveniently accessible as one of the stops on SFO's AirTrain network. The hotel had a very contemporary atmosphere with wooden finishes and brass accents that gave it a very warm and welcoming feeling. While the price range of the hotel does sit a bit on the higher end, it did leave us with a great impression, and we would definitely stay here again should we find ourselves needing to fly out of SFO. Before heading to the departure terminal to check in for our flight, we did some quick spotting from the AirTrain.
Alright, so we're heading to check in for our Lufthansa flight. Check-in opens in 5 minutes, and after that we'll go through security and then do some gate spotting around the international terminal.
After a short wait in line for the counters to open, we were given our boarding passes and proceeded to head through security. At the very end of the international G gates exists an outdoor observation terrace. While not the most ideal for spotting due to potential reflections from the glass barrier, it offers a great view of aircraft movements in and out of the G gates, as well as part of Terminal 3's F gates, home to United Airlines. With the abundant foliage providing a splash of color and sense of nature, as well as the somewhat weird-looking, abstract art pieces, the open-air deck is a nice escape from the hustle and bustle of SFO Airport. If you're an aviation geek like me and you're flying out of this terminal, it's definitely worth checking out. Coincidentally, our Lufthansa 747 flight not only parks at the international G gates, but we got the perfect view of it arriving from the outdoor observation terrace. Now that we fully admired Lufthansa 747 from the outside, I think it's time to board and check out what it's like on the inside. Oh, don't mind us fanboying a bit with our Lufthansa branded Rimowa carry-ons. I wonder if the crew will notice. Today, our flight will be boarding from gate G13. The business class cabin on Lufthansa 747 is configured in a 2-2-2 seating arrangement. This means the passengers in the window seats do not have direct aisle access, so it's in your best interest to find a travel buddy when flying in this cabin. Our seats for the flight were 9A and 9C in the last row of the forward business cabin. Behind us was the L2 door, the galley, and the staircase to the upper deck. My first impression of the seat is that it's quite dated. The screen lacks clarity, the finishes are a bit dull, and showing signs of wear and tear overall. You also don't have much privacy in these seats, as there isn't even a divider between them. You're also slightly angled towards each other, further reducing your sense of personal space, which the seat already lacks in the form of storage space, at least on the lower deck. Having said that, as an AV geek, I reminded myself I was flying on a 747, and those previous complaints quickly became lesser issues. With that out of the way, let's begin with a seat tour. Directly in front is the 15-inch touchscreen TV. Beneath that was a compartment for any literature, but of course during COVID times, this is usually limited to a safety card. At the bottom was a pull-out cubby which contained a water bottle and a Lufthansa tote bag from the Around the World collection. Placed on top of the footrest was a mattress as well as a blanket, which we will check out later. Don't mind my bag there, but here's the footrest itself, which is a bit small in my opinion. Beneath the footrest, there's a storage space for shoes or a small bag. Coming up to the center console, there's a drink tray at the front, seat controls, and the armrest, which opens up at the push of this button. In here you'll find the tray table, which pops out by pushing down on it, pulling up, and folding down like so. From there, you can move it forward and back and flip it open. You have a standard handset which you can use to control the TV screen, and in here you'll find the noise cancelling headset by AKG. It's a bit hard to see, but there's a single USB port also located in here. The seat is accented by this tan brown leather, which is a nice touch. Beside the headrest, you'll find an LED reading lamp, which has one brightness setting. The headrest can be adjusted up and down, but the edges cannot be folded in. On the seat itself is a pillow, which provides some nice cushioning and adds a bit more color to the seat. The armrest on the other side can be stowed to give you more space when sleeping. In this particular seat, I had access to 3 windows. And it's a good thing I had such a vast amount of window real estate, because here is the view out those windows.
König, we are the purses of today's Lufthansa night flight to Frankfurt. All of us in the crew hope to make this stay with us a pleasant and relaxing one. The doors have already been closed, and for this reason we kindly ask you to switch all the electronic devices into the flight mode or switch them off completely.
After takeoff, Peterson and I settled in and got comfortable for the flight. Pretty soon, the crew began preparing for the first meal service, so let's have a look at the menu. You have a choice of 3 appetizers as well as 3 main courses. I'll quickly scan through the menu, but feel free to pause the video if you want more time to read it. To start things off, a tray of nuts and cashews were provided along with a choice of beverage. For my starter, I chose the spicy chili crusted tuna with buckwheat noodle salad and lime dressing. It was a tasty and refreshing dish. I'm usually a fan of tuna starters, and this one was no exception. For my main course, I went with the Pier 39 San Francisco Cioppino, consisting of shrimp and scallops in a cioppino sauce, paired with a vegetable mix and saffron rice. It was decent, but definitely wasn't the most exciting in terms of taste and presentation. Dessert consisted of a cheese plate with a very nice selection of cheese, Haagen-Dazs Dulce de Leche ice cream, and a coffee. While we were enjoying our food in the comfort of the cabin, I couldn't help but to periodically admire the scenic views and light show out the window. As the meal service drew to a close and the sun had set over the horizon, many passengers were turning in to get some sleep. The crew came around to offer a set of pajamas, supplied by Van Locke. By this time in the flight, we were just about to cross the 49th parallel into Canada. As you can probably tell from this clip, the in-flight airshow is pretty antiquated, one of the older ones where you don't have any interactivity. The screen also leaves a bit to be desired. It has a lot of glare and doesn't produce the sharpest image. You can see what I mean about the glare with this clip shot earlier when there was more light. Lufthansa offers a reusable tote bag with some toiletries inside. There are different designs of the bag that you can collect. For me, I got San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge. The contents of the bag include a pair of socks, L'Occitane hand cream, fresh mints, ear pad covers, toothbrush, and toothpaste. Here's the lavatory by the L2 doors, just behind our seats. Nothing fancy going on besides a bottle of L'Occitane hand lotion. Upon returning to my seat, I configured it into the bed mode to try out the mattress and blanket. The bed goes into a fully lie-flat setup, and once you stow the armrest, there's a decent amount of space to get some sleep. As for movie and TV selection, there's definitely enough to keep you entertained on an 8-hour flight. However, I found the interface a bit laggy and outdated. Definitely not the most inspiring layout that I've seen. Eventually, I settled on a movie to watch, F9 The Fast Saga, to pass the next few hours of the flight. About 2 hours before arrival, breakfast was served. Breakfast consisted of a cheddar cheese omelette, potato rosti, sautéed mushrooms, and grilled Canadian bacon, along with bread, fresh fruit, and orange juice. The breakfast was delicious and really gave me energy to enjoy the last moments of the flight. At the time of our arrival into Frankfurt, it was covered in a thick fog, so we couldn't even see the ground until we were just moments from the runway.
and gentlemen, please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened until we have reached our final parking position and the fasten seatbelt signs have been switched off. Captain Walitz and his crew would like to say goodbye to you now. We do hope you enjoyed this flight with us and we are looking forward to seeing you soon on one of our Lufthansa planes. Please open up the storage bins above your heads carefully in order to avoid objects from falling out and double check your seat pockets for your belongings. We're going to have an outside position this morning in Frankfurt. Buses will bring you to the terminal.
To conclude the flight, we were given a remote gate which meant deplaning via stairs and being bussed to the terminal. The average passenger might consider this an inconvenience, but to us, being able to walk past those jet engines and see a 747 up close was a dream come true. As luck would have it, I was the very first passenger off the plane. While I had a great experience flying with Lufthansa, there are some drawbacks to point out. The seats are a bit dated and frankly not that competitive compared to other options that fly to Europe from North America. The lack of direct aisle access can be a deal breaker if you're traveling solo, but in my case it wasn't a big deal as I was traveling with a companion. The food and service were good, but nothing really stood out to me. With that said, what made the flight special for me was the fact that it was on a 747. As an AV geek, the feeling of flying on a 747 simply makes up for any flaws of the flight itself. Also, if you're someone like me who enjoys staring out the window during the flight, I would actually recommend the lower deck business cabin. Most people would probably pick the upper deck for the novelty, but I think the lower deck actually provides a better engine view. I hope you enjoyed this look into Lufthansa's international business class experience on the 747. I know it's been a while since I've been able to put out a trip report of an international flight, but here's hoping for many more in the days to come. Thanks for watching, happy travels, and I'll see you in the next one.